Hey everybody, Captain Jim Palmer, the Dream Business Coach here for another Build Your Dream Business Now Profit Seat. I have the honor of talking with Jane Blaufus. Jane, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Jim. How are you?
I am doing great. And you are a fellow coach. You coach women. I know you coach men. And so can you give our audience and our listeners just the kind of the 2-minute 411 about who you are, what you do, maybe where you're located?
Okay, so I'm a best-selling author of a self-published book called With the Stroke of a Pen, Claim Your Life. I'm also an international speaker, and I am a business coach, and I coach sales professionals and entrepreneurs, and I'm based near Toronto, Canada.
Up there north of the border, as I always tell my friend Kate Bradbury, north of the border. So Jane, what's interesting is, so when you applied for the profit seat and you filled out a questionnaire for me, I've done a little bit of research, and I get that you and I are pretty much in the same field, although you, as you just said, specialize in helping sales professionals. So I always forget. The first thing I do when I do a profit seat is I ask, may I be completely candid with you and share my unvarnished opinions? Is that
Yes.
fair? Okay. And
Yep.
just to let you know, and also the listeners that when because we have a small amount of a small window, I want if I may interrupt you if I feel I got enough information. I've learned that when hey, tell me quickly what you do. Well, I was born and so if I have enough information, I'm going to roll on because I want to pack as much as we can into the profit seat. So my first observation, which is why I asked you, can I be completely candid? When I was looking at your website and your book and things like that, the biggest thing that I got out of it, and it's one of your messages, courageous conversation, right? And you said you coach sales professionals. Now, I'll admit I didn't read the website verbatim, but I actually didn't get out of that you focus on sales professionals. So that may be something that we can look at. I know you're working on your website now.
hmm
So let me ask you this. How did you get into coaching? When did you get into coaching? And what led to that? In other words, tell me briefly about the career that all of a sudden you said, wow, this is really good. I can help other people do this. Again, give me the short version of that.
Okay, so I was in corporate for a number of years and I led a team of 15 people. So I had people that were working for me that, of course, I had to do coaching with, performance management with, all of that kind of stuff. And so I was also, at one point in my career, I was a sales manager that was responsible for the recruitment and attraction of financial advisors. So I had to be a coach to them. I took formal coaching lessons as well and whatever. So that's sort of where I've coached most of my adult life.
Okay, so you've coached professionally as a W-2 employee, or I don't know if that's the terminology north of the border, but as an employee, and then you struck out on your own when? 15 years ago, did you say?
No, I actually opened my own. I left corporate in 2008 and opened my own company a year later. And I just, because of my reputation and my really expansive network in the financial services industry, I found people were seeking me out. So I started, I know the industry and I know how to be a successful entrepreneur as well. So they sort of went hand in glove. And that's why most of my coaching is with financial advisors.
When you were an employee and the higher ups were asking you to coach new people in your team and things like that, was there something big that you have done? Did you like rise to the top in a quick fashion? Did your sales like outpace everybody else? What made you the go-to coach at that time?
Well, when I was a financial advisor myself when I started in the insurance industry, and my first husband was in the Air Force, so we moved around a lot. So I became a master networker because I would move somewhere and not know anybody and have to, just build my business all over again. So I know how to establish something from the ground up,
Hmm.
and it just morphed into, I think I just love coaching people. I love working with people. It's just a natural thing for me.
One of the things I often, of all the people that I've coached in the 8 or 9 years, I've actually helped more coaches start and or grow their business. So one of the things I sometimes, when I have conversations with potential clients, is I always ask them, and it comes across as kind of a in-your-face question, but I say, what gives you the right to take money to coach other people? And that's kind of why I was asking those questions, like what, you have to have a claim to fame or you have to have the big hook, which makes you very desirable. Like I'm always like, when you see a 22-year-old offering how to have a magnificent life, and at 22, how much life have you lived? Or if somebody's trying to be, I'm a $1 million coach and they have yet to create their first six-figure business, I think there's a disconnect there. So with your career and everything you've done, and let's assume you've got a very broad base, you probably did a lot of different things. If someone asked you, like, what's the one, or maybe two things at the most, but what's the one hook? What's the one thing that Jane Blaufus can hang her hat on as like the biggest accomplishment pre-entrepreneur?
Pre-entrepreneur. Well, I think I'll go back to what I just shared with you about. It's hard enough to get started in the life insurance business once, but to do it 4 times, people thought I was suicidal, I think. I'm sure my family did. So I think that was a huge accomplishment because I basically had to create my business over from the ground up. In 2 of those 4 cases, I knew no one in the town except my husband.
Okay.
And as he told me, he had enough life insurance, so I better go find somebody else to talk to. But I had to network. I had to hone my sales and marketing skills. I had to go out and be vulnerable and put myself out in front of people and say, I'm new at this. I'm new in town. I'm trying to build a business. I'd like to help you, and then maybe we can help each other. So I think that's one of the biggest things. And somebody asked me not too long ago, so you're coaching financial advisors, what makes you different? Which was a very good question.
Sure. And
I said, that's a great question. I said, I teach financial advisors how to be business people. I teach them how to know their numbers because they don't. They all think they're employees and they're not. So I took my history in the financial services industry along with what I'm doing now and put them together, and it's become a unique offering.
So Jane, I really love what you just said. The other thing, so I'm coming in maybe on 2 potential topics, but I don't want to reveal them yet. So when you have recreated yourself essentially 4 times, forced to because of moving around with your husband's first career, right? What 2 or 3 things did you rely on when you suddenly taken out of your first successful role as a business owner and then now dropped in a new town and you do it again and yet you did it 4 times? Is there 1, 2, or 3 things that you did to ramp back up and grow a nice portfolio 4 different times?
Well, I'll give you one example in particular. I moved into a town where I knew no one but my husband. And so I thought, okay, so let me think about this. I'm trying to grow a business here in this community. Who else is in the same situation as I am? Mm-hmm. Who else needs sales? Who else, whatever. So I took a look around and I found 8 hotels in the area. And I reached out and I found out who the sales manager was for event space, for rooms, for everything. And I reached out to them and I introduced myself to them and asked them if I could buy them a cup of coffee and come in and meet them face to face. I met with all 8 of them, and as a result of that, that's what sort of propelled me and started me off again, because I got introductions to new people in the community. They became clients, and so that's one particular thing, is networking, connecting with people. That's one of the things I love the most, and I've always seemed to have good luck with.
So, and yeah, you said earlier you're a master networker. Now, if you were to talk to, let's say you were to get in a room with 100 financial advisors and say you're up on stage maybe doing a group profit seat or something like that, and you ask for what keeps you awake at night? What keeps that group of people awake at night? What's their biggest pain?
Their biggest pain is they don't get introduced to enough people to talk to turn into clients because they don't ask.
Okay.
So they're short on introductions. Nobody ever leaves any business because they have too many people to talk to.
Gotcha. I would think also with financial planners, I think financial planners, financial advisors, I mean, that's right up there with your CPA and your attorney. There's got to be probably more than your attorney because it's all financial. That's your biggest trust factor. Did you excel in some way? Maybe you don't even realize this, but did you excel at being able to create trust? And again, you've created 4 successful businesses in 4 different locations. So you must have excelled at trust. How did you do that?
I listen a lot. I ask a lot of questions, but I listen a lot. And I don't always go in to sell somebody something. I'm very big on relationship building. It's one of the things that I've done over the years, and that, I've had people say to me, man, it's easy to like you and to trust you because you really do care. And I think that's another thing, is that I'm benevolent. My whole focus is outwardly focused. I like to help other people. I'm the one who doesn't need the Christmas presents. I just want to sit there and watch everybody else open theirs,
Right.
type of thing. So I think it's just my outgoing nature. I'm empathetic. I try to be my true self. I don't, everybody else is taken. So I'd like to just be who I really am. And
Right.
I just honestly listen to people. So I think that helps to build trust.
Jane, one of the things I do with my clients is I help them create a persona, but it's also built around the big hook. And then the big hook, once we know what that is, we create an acronym, we put a book around that, a podcast, we do all these different things around the big hook. And I think what the big hook for you is going to be, and again, this is after 7 minutes or 8 minutes of conversation, I don't know what the acronym's going to be. But what I wrote down, the biggest pain point, there's not enough referrals, you're not getting introduced to enough people. And I would say that's true, because whether you're a financial advisor or you're a landscaper or you clean pools or you're a CPA, everybody starts a business based on their initial skill and talent, and that's the deliverable. What they don't understand is how to market and grow and attract more people. You've seemed to have conquered that in a way, and it's interesting. There's no secret sauce. You're being you. You're authentic, and like as you say, you care about people. But whatever the acronym is that we would come up with, I wrote down, excel at building trust, and you'll never have a dry well again. Now, that's too long. That's not the acronym. But that is addressing, I think, a pain point. Because to be honest with you, when I saw Courageous Conversation, it didn't click for me what you meant by that, right? So let me ask a couple more questions, see if I can hone in a little bit more. There's 3 questions I want to ask you. They're very similar, but it sometimes helps to pick the path that we want to go on, because we do want to pick one path, okay? You do a few different things based on your website. You do coaching, you do speeches, keynotes, and there's other things you do, and you have some products. Of all the things that you do with your current company, number one, what do you enjoy doing the most? What has the greatest profit potential or the growth potential, and what currently makes you the most money? And I don't mean, it could be gross, or it just could be gross profit. So what do you enjoy doing the most? What has the greatest growth potential, do you feel, say, for the next 3 to 5 years? And what has the highest profit margin within your current company?
So I love speaking.
Okay.
It floats my boat. It's what sort of gets me up in the morning and whatever. And of course, my book is a huge part of my speaking, because my book is my story, and it's educational as well as inspirational. So speaking is a huge opportunity for me, and that's a big focus for me this year. I just applied for last year and got my E1 visa so I can work in the US legally. It was an arduous process, took a year, but it's done. So now that I've got that, I'm aggressively going after the US market for speaking, and also international. And the other potential growth side for me is more business coaching clients.
Gotcha. That's interesting. You're in that minority of people who say, I'd rather be in the coffin than delivering the eulogy. That was me for many years, but now I really get off on speaking. And I can see that. And there's the only thing better than being a speaker is being a published author who's a speaker. So I think that's pretty powerful. So the other thing that I would really urge you to do is really focus. And, you said your husband works with you in the business. I know you're looking at your website. I want to give you a couple tips at a couple points on the website. I did not see any way to pop into your website. I didn't see a pop-up, or I didn't see an opt-in. It may be at the bottom, but it certainly wasn't apparent at the top of the website. So there's no way for people to get on an email list where you can nurture the relationship that way. So I would suggest something there. And actually, the something there, it could be the first 2 chapters of your new book, or it could be 1 or 2 things. It could be, in fact, it should be. I have a expression I call it, you want a potpourri of a basket of benefits. So people may want to read a PDF. Some people may want to pop in an MP3 and listen to a certain part of your speech, or something that you have for them. So 1, 2, or 3 things kind of the goodie grab bag, so to speak. I also didn't see at the top of the website anything about the being a best-selling author. So in the new website, one of the things I see a lot of people do also is have a website that tries to do all the heavy lifting, kind of a one size fits all. When I looked at all the different stuff that you do on your website, and I actually have it open here, so there's the coaching, media, speaking, blog, products, etc. When somebody goes to your website, whether they find you on social media or hear you speaking, they want to go for a certain reason. There's probably a certain search term. Like obviously if you want to rank in Google, they're going to put in a certain search term. And for you, if the real growth potential is being a speaker for and teaching financial planners how to significantly increase their revenue, I mean, that's really what it needs to be. For me, Dream Business Coach, you go to my website, it says 10-day Dream Business Transformation. There's an opt-in right there. And then if they don't do that, 2 seconds later, the pop-up. And most people tell me, Jim, the pop-up's annoying. I don't want to put my people through that. I'll tell you, 70% of the people that join my list do so on the pop-up. So you just have to, get over your own internal thoughts about pop-ups. I find them annoying as hell too, but you gotta do that.
Okay.
So, the other thing I want to mention is the last blog post I think I saw was like December 19th. And I think blogging maybe 2 or 3 times a week is not only going to help the Google rankings, but if the blog posts are titled to the specific thing you want to be known for, that's obviously going to drive more traffic to the website. The other thing, I didn't see that you have a podcast. Did I miss that, or are you not podcasting right now?
I'm doing a lot of guest podcasting, but for the second half of 2018, that's on our to-do list. My husband's, we're just launching a video production company, and then he's also going to be doing the podcasting. And I'm going to be looking at I'm actually in discussions with somebody about doing my own show.
Okay. So I asked you off air, I think, if I could be my candid, blunt self. So you gave me permission. Second half of 2018, you could launch a podcast next week. You could certainly launch one by Valentine's Day or even March 1st. I mean, doing a podcast is not a big deal. One of the reasons you want to have your own show, number one, after we would come up with the right branding and things like that. Here's what I have found, and this is really the secret sauce. It's not so much all the people that listen to your show, and there will be some. It is the potential guests that you get to interview and the green room chat, as I call it, pre-interview and post-interview, more importantly. Being a guest, it's hugely, and I would not stop that, but having your own show, that is media. When you own the media and you control the message, by the way, I sponsor my own show. My own Dream Business Radio is sponsored by the Build Your Dream Business Now Facebook group, because that's where I'm sending people. It's really, really powerful, and it's absolutely not hard at all. We're basically doing it right now. You get on Skype and interview somebody, you have a little produced beginning and an ending, boom, your podcast goes out. So I would really encourage you to move that up. Let me ask you real quick, and then we're quickly zooming out of time. The video production company, how is that related, or is that like another revenue stream that your husband's going to run, or is that related to what you're doing?
So it's, first of all, to produce all my video, because we didn't want to outsource it and pay somebody else. So he's gone through all the tutorials and all of that, but it's potentially to be another revenue stream that he will drive. Okay.
I want to suggest a potential book title, and this is just off the top of my head, and sometimes it might get refined. And it could be a current book, or you could do a second version, or it may be pretty easy to put out another book. But I really think, Jane, probably the biggest thing I can give you right now in this short time together is it really needs to, everything you do on social media, on your website. By the way, one more thing on websites. You notice that I have you should have your own celebrity branding website. So if mine is Get Jim Palmer, I also have a website for Dream Biz Coaching, for Dream Business Academy. All my books have separate websites. I have a website for Success Advantage Publishing, which publishes everything needs, for the most part, a separate website. Okay, because that's how people will look for you and find you. What I find, especially today, when I forget the latest stats, 60-70% of people are looking at websites on something this big, it's really hard to search, when you got when you have a lot of menu options at the top. So if somebody was to go to I don't know if janeblaufus.com is taken. I notice your website is now the Blaufus Group. If there was janeblaufus.com, I would certainly go get that. But then there may be Jane Blaufus Coaching, or there would be the name of a book with book.com or something like that. But more and more today, having a website for each part of the business seems to make sense and make it easier. For me, if I have to click more than two or three, forget two or three, if I have to click more than once or twice on a website to find something, it's a big disconnect for impatient people. What I think you ought to do, I really believe, with the number of financial planners who are basically out there sucking wind, probably not even making 50 or 80 grand a year. There's an expression, I forget, it was probably Dan Kennedy who said it, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. In this case, the one-eyed woman is king, right? So if you are, there's another expression. I don't particularly like the word, but it is what it is, and it helps illustrate a point. What people are looking for today, and let's just go with financial planners, what people are most looking for today, they may be looking for marketing ideas for financial planners, different ways to do social media, blah, blah, blah. What people are most looking for is hope and certainty. And so when somebody wants to hire a coach or somebody that's going to help them take their business to the next level, whether that's $500 a month or $15,000 or $40,000 to $50,000 a year, some high-end coaching program that I know you could do, they're going to do that when you have established unbelievable hope and certainty that this is a good buying decision. And that's really, when I talk about the $1 million platform, the social media, the books, the podcast, the speaking, the videos, all of it, that all goes to building the credibility, which develops hope and certainty. And so everything, I believe, even though your skill set can easily help people in a lot of different fields, you got to pick one. And I believe because of your background, it is in the financial services industry. So, and I think that, as you've rightly said, Jane, I think the biggest thing that is eating at them is they're lousy networkers. Nobody likes to go to meetings where they don't know anybody. Nobody likes to trade cards and just hope and pray. They might say, hey, I would like to hire you to manage my fortune. So that's the really hard part about what they do. And so if they were to view you, this is the term that I've heard before, and I think it was Dan again said this, people are looking for a savior. I need you to save me. Take me to the next level. I will find the money somewhere if I really determine that you're the one that can do this. So everything about your brand, Jane, really has to speak to that group of people, that specific person, the man or woman who becomes your perfect avatar. Everything speaks to that. Now, if there's a potential new book, or if there, and maybe even the name of the podcast, certainly a video channel on YouTube. I don't know if this has been taken or not, but I wrote down, you can't drink from a dry well, how to excel as a master networker, and what was the other thing I wrote down? And establish trust, or something like that. Because you can't drink from a dry well. That clearly paints a picture, and people that are in sales will understand that. How to become a master networker and excel at building trust. People will understand those are the things that they suck at and that they want the most amount of help with. I think that would be a pretty cool, could be an info product, could be a course, could be a book. But it ultimately, the other thing I left off there, somehow we'd have to massage in there for financial planners. The ultimate guide for financial planners on how to excel at networking and build trust. Too long, but you see what I'm saying? We need to address the pain points, and we need to say who it's for. Mm-hmm. Anyway, hope that helps you.
It did. Thank you.
What do you think of everything before we go? I know you had some probably some hopes and aspirations when we started this. Did I confuse you? Did I make it seem like more? I got a lot more work to do, or is there anything you can gravitate toward that might make sense?
I think what you did was you confirmed some decisions that have been made since I completed the request to be in the profit seat, mm-hmm. and to where I ultimately am now, because the book is coming out next week, so it's consumed all of my time and all of my attention. Right. So now we're turning to the revamp of the website, and you confirmed a couple of things for me, because one of the things I've been doing is sort of straddling two audiences. One was the financial planning audience, and one was the client, the public. So what I've decided is I've picked the lane and I'm going onto the financial services side because, I get the one-off orders on my website for my books and whatever, but all of my sales and all of the reason I've become a best-selling author is because of companies buying 1,000 books at a time or 850 or 750 or whatever. And the beauty of this is I'm self-published. So all of the revenue comes into my pocket. Whereas,
Right.
with publishers, you usually get a lot less. So you've confirmed a few things that we've been looking at and talking about and whatever. So I don't know if I can get to the podcasting quite as fast as you'd like me to, but I'm going to look at trying to rev it up because I've got a lot on my plate at the moment. And you know yourself, we're the marketing and sales face of our businesses. There's only us. So, you can only be in so many places at so many times, and I haven't figured out how to clone myself yet. So,
so in closing, there are several companies, and some I can even recommend that are not expensive, that if all you do is jump on for a half an hour and interview somebody, and you give this company the MP3 file, they'll edit and put on the beginning and the end, and they'll publish it, and they'll create the artwork for your blog. So literally all you have to do is about a half an hour show and maybe 10 minutes of prep, because it's pretty easy. I got to do one in a second. And of course you get the one sheet, so you got questions, things like that. So it's really not that hard to do the interviews. And of all the things that are exploding right now, podcasting is it. My God. I mean, it's like in 2009 when I started doing videos with my Kodak flip camera going like this, video took off, but podcasting is it right now. So I would encourage you not to have the second half of 2018 be the goal. I tell cut your goal in half, so maybe that means March or April. But sooner the better, because again, one of the reasons I keep doing it is not necessarily, I don't even know my downloads. I don't care. I don't go check that out. I'm interested in the conversations that I'm having with some really cool guests, because I am serving my audience with good information, but invariably if I do 50 interviews or 30 interviews, half of those people are potential clients, and it's the start of a relationship, just like it is if you meet somebody at a networking event. So I'm going to be on you about that. You got to get your podcast going. And if you don't have it now, get janeblaufus.com also. Hopefully you have that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we do, but I'll double check.
All right.
I'll double check.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I hope you got some value out of it.
I did. Thanks, Jim.
You're very welcome, and I'll talk to you later.
Okay, have a great day. Thanks so
You
much.
too.